The Boy Who Refused to Speak. Morrison Kingsman lay in the larger bed, his body heavy with residue of another restless night. As the first faint light of day 37, Saturday, June 6, 2026, filtered through the GMP and glass windows of the self-contained apartment, the ash-white curtains hung loosely, swaying like pale ghosts reluctant to announce the new day. Outside, the compound wall still waking, but inside, the black-tiled floor already felt cool and unforgiving beneath the small movements of HesedEmet, who had rolled restlessly throughout the night. The crimson, pink, and ash walls seemed to absorb the tension, their bold yet muted tones mirroring the household, vibrant with potential, yet subdued by layers of unresolved pain. The old sleeping order had been reinstated. Morrison Kingsman had refused to let Judith return to the small mattress with the boy, forcing a fragile return to what once passed for normalcy. Judith had slept fitfully, irritated by HesedEmet's constant turning, choosing her own rest over his comfort. The drinking water rubber stood empty in the unfinished kitchen, a stark symbol of neglect born from the previous day's rain. The cracked iron bar back door, rusting steadily at its base, allowed faint drafts to slip through, carrying the scent of damp earth and the distant promise of another uncertain day on the long road to Port Harcourt. Morrison Kingsman had barely slept himself. He had watched over the boy, his heart tightening with each restless shift. Now, at 5 a.m., he stared fully as HesedEmet's discomfort became impossible to ignore. The child, 3 years and 4 months old, could not settle. His small body sought warmth and reassurance that Judith, exhausted and cold toward both father and son, withheld with sharp shushes. "Come here, Hesed," Morrison Kingsman whispered, calling the boy gently from sleep. He sat up, the black-tiled floor grounding him as he reached for his son. The child crawled closer, tapping his father's arm with urgent but wordless need. Judith stared on her side, her voice edged with impatience. "What is it again? Speak. Say what you want." HesedEmet tried. His small mouth opened, but only fragmented vowel sounds emerged. E and O repeated in varying combinations, each attempt a struggle against an invisible barrier. The boy's eyes shone with intelligence and frustration. He knew what he wanted to express, yet the words refused to form. Morrison Kingsman felt a deep pity swell within him, mingled with the heavier symbolism of inherited silence. Just as his father's hidden past had silenced truth across generations, so too had the trauma of HesedEmet's birth silenced this young voice. The new tribe could not rise if its youngest king remained voiceless. The boy stood unsteadily and walked toward the table, guided by Morrison Kingsman's phone torch. His eyes caught the cup of water fetched the night before. He drank greedily until Judith commanded him to stop. Then came the morning ritual of going outside to wee-wee. The child resisted until Judith changed her tone. Together, they went through the brown front door. When they returned, the apartment felt smaller, heavier with the weight of unspoken things. As the boy climbed back onto the small mattress, Morrison Kingsman's mind drifted into a profound flashback, the memories unfolding with vivid, painful clarity. It was February 27, 2024, at Rumweme Community Primary Health Center. Judith had been in labor since the early hours. The pushing stage dragged dangerously long. No facilities for a C-section. The boy's head became stuck, squeezed tightly in the birth canal as Judith, overwhelmed by exhaustion and fear, began to give up. The atmosphere in the delivery room grew tense. Nurses urged her. Morrison Kingsman stood beside her, sermons turning to desperate screams and harsh rebukes as terror for her family's judgment gripped him. One brave older nurse took a risk, cutting without full preparation, and reached in to pull the child free. He emerged silent, limp, blue-gray, presumed stillborn. The room fell deathly quiet. Then chaos erupted. Nurses beat life into the tiny body, while the older nurse turned to the unconscious Judith, praying loudly and calling her back from the brink. When Judith's eyes finally opened, tears streaming, there was no celebration, only dread. The boy still had not cried. The older nurse took him again, pressing cold water and striking with firm, prayerful hands, until a strange, goat-like sound broke the silence. Life returned. Joy flooded the room, but the trauma had left its indelible mark. A temporarily flattened head that required months of careful remolding, developmental delays, weakness in limbs, and now this persistent struggle with speech. That same night, back in this very compound, disaster struck again. The newborn nearly slipped away. Family and neighbors gathered in panic. Emergency drugs were sourced at midnight. Prayers rose like incense. The boy survived, but the pattern was set. Life won through struggle, yet marked by silence and delay. Morrison Kingsman returned to the present, watching HesedEmet lie quietly beside him. The child's silence was not mere delay, it was symbolic of deeper inherited fractures. Just as the unplastered bathroom walls stood raw behind the new door, so too did the boy's voice await proper formation. The black-tiled floor provided a solid foundation, yet remained cold. The ash-white curtains witnessed without intervening. The crimson-pink walls offered color and hope, but could not speak for the child. Later that morning, at 6:37 a.m., as Judith washed outside and frowned at HesedEmet's attempts to join her, shutting the door firmly against him, Morrison Kingsman coaxed the boy back to bed. HesedEmet lay beside him, safe. It was then that the second dream from the night before resurfaced in full force. In the dream, Judith had rushed towards his ringing phone upon hearing the name of the third wife. She tried to note the number, Morrison Kingsman confronted her. "Why are you disrupting our peace?" Friends Sammy and Cyril arrived from Port Harcourt, now relocated to Eche. The scene shifted to a hostel-like setting reminiscent of Stella Maris College. Ritualists attacked, demanding a child for sacrifice. Bobby, his elder brother, hid one daughter, while the youngest was taken. Police arrived, gunfire erupted. Then came the Lions, led by a boy in branded trousers marked 40Y Boys. Bobby fought courageously with a wooden pestle, hauling lions down from the first floor, while Morrison Kingsman defended the staircase. They could not leave for Igruta. Protection demanded they stand and fight. Morrison Kingsman woke from the recollection relieved. The child beside him was a boy, HesedEmet, alive and breathing despite everything. In the dream, the surviving child had been a daughter. Here, reality offered a son who had already survived death twice on his first day. The lions, the ritualists, the gunfire all symbolized the spiritual and inherited battles surrounding the new tribe. The old father's name carried dark forces that sought to devour the future. Yet courage, like Bobby's, and strategic defense could prevail. The apartment grew dimmer. The unfinished kitchen and raw bathroom walls stood as emblems of ongoing work. The new bathroom door represented fresh beginnings. The black tiled floor reminded him that foundations existed even amid mess. The crimson pink and ash walls whispered that beauty and strength could coexist with imperfection. The ash-white curtains bore silent testimony to the struggle for a voice. Morrison Kingsman placed a gentle hand on HesedEmet's back. "You will speak, my king," he whispered. "The new tribe will have a voice. We will break the silence of the old name." Outside, Saturday, June 6, 2026, continued its course. The 90-day journey had entered deeper waters. Port Harcourt waited, but the real arrival would be measured not in miles, but in the slow emergence of truth, the courageous exercise of communication, and the consistent offering of service, especially to this boy, small though, whose silence called them all to listen more deeply. The weight of the old father's name remained, but so did the resolve to raise a new tribe under a different banner, one where even the voiceless would eventually be heard.